Welcome all. Very good afternoon and a warm welcome from Harbinger Systems. Thank you for joining in. We'll be starting our webinar session right away. Before we start, a few housekeeping checks. If you can hear me loud and clear, please type in yes in the chat box down below in the webinar pane. And during this entire session, please make it interactive by typing all the queries that you have in the question pane. We'll take your questions at the end of our presentation in Q&A section. So once again, thank you for joining and a very warm welcome to all on behalf of Harbinger Systems. To start with, let me briefly introduce myself and our company. I'm Vikash Mangal, Senior Manager Business Development in Harbinger Systems, and our company Harbinger Systems started in 1990. Under Harbinger Systems, our services span across enterprise software development services, advanced testing for ISVs, and solution consulting in e-learning. Harbinger has also developed innovative products like Raptivity, eLearning, and Buster. Coming back to our webinar topic today, it is in the context of criticality to have continuous internet connectivity either through intranet or internet between the learner's device and the LMS. That is learning management system for e-learning to be possible and effective. However, there are many situations where network connectivity is either unavailable or intermittent, which interrupts this learning process. Our webinar today, Interactive E-Learning in Low Internet Bandwidth Environment, is going to provide a solution that enables organizations to overcome this issue and offer anytime, anywhere access to e-learning content to their students and employees. So let's see the agenda that we have today for this session. So we'll start with e-learning opportunities and challenges to know them in context of low internet bandwidth availability, solution concept and key consideration that you should consider, you should think about while designing a solution. We'll also look at solution architecture. For the solution concept we'll talk about. And finally, Harbinger offline player, which is based on the solution architecture and that has been deployed worldwide to overcome internet connectivity issues during e-learning. So we'll start with our first agenda item to see what e-learning opportunity is there. So here I'm showing you a graph which is based on overall global expenditure. You would be aware of the potential already, and here I have some figures to substantiate that. So in this graph, on the left-hand side, you can see a bar which is showing bar for 2012 with a figure of 4.4 that is showing the global education expenditure is 4.4 trillion US dollars. And on the right-hand side, the circular chart is showing breakup of that expenditure across various sectors. 50% of that is in K-12, 34% in post-secondary, 8% in corporate and government learning, and remaining 8% in others. If you see the arrows on top of those bars, education expenditure growth rate is estimated to be 7.4%, and if it continues in times to come, by 2015, this expenditure would jump to 5.4 US trillion dollars. And with continuation, it would be roughly 1.5 times to 6.3 trillion dollars by 2017. Roughly, if we take in absolute terms, it's over $2 trillion that would be increase in global education, which is huge. In context of e-learning, presently it is estimated to be about $100 billion, and the growth rate, as you can see, is 23%, which is about 3 times the traditional education expenditure rate. So it would be fair to assume that this traditional way of learning would be substituted by e-learning, or to frame it more appropriately, e-learning is going to be the way of education driven by the need to provide education economically. So we have seen this market opportunity to be there. But as a learning and development professionals, are we prepared to leverage this opportunity? Do we have all the means, wherewithal to leverage and utilize this opportunity? So here we see the primary requirement to tap this market would be e-learning content. This e-learning content is already available. So if we see, the required textbooks are already in ebook format, which could be easily accessible. Large educational publishers are converting their textbooks into e-learning format. They are digitalizing their offerings. And this is taking at a rapid pace. On the technology side, if we look at e-learning ecosystem, we'll see 3 broad components that are required. One is authoring tools, second, delivery system, the third, collaboration and personalization tools. So in each of these components, we have several market offerings available. And if you give a general view, take a view of market, you will find that there are all the offerings available. But as a first-hand knowledge, I can tell you this, as Harbinger is working with several large educational publishers, plus we are speaking with many of them. On technology side, we have worked with small to large organizations, and we have been providing services to world's best product companies. In fact, we have worked with top 6 LMS companies in US for providing product development services. So we understand at what rate this is developing. And the third factor, market, we have already seen in the previous slide, that is there. So what is that is stopping us to leverage this opportunity? It is the last mile issue, the issue to reach to the end user who is completely dependent on internet access, seamless availability of internet to be able to access e-learning content, which is a challenge, and thus he is not being able to take advantage of this e-learning content. So let's see it in more detail as to how big is this challenge. So here I'm sharing with you a map sourced from World Bank, which shows the regions of the world in red color. So it is showing internet access availability per 100 people. The white parts are the regions without internet availability, and the regions in the red are with internet access. The intensity of color is depicting the higher level of internet access. So as we can see, regions like North America, Greenland, and parts of Europe are deep red, which would be showing that they have internet access to above 80% level. And as we can see, regions in Africa, Southeast Asia, China, they are light red, which would depict they would have internet access below 30%. So as we can see, in internet access availability is a challenge. So what are the situations where we encounter this and where it impacts our e-learning? So let's see some of these situations. Classrooms without internet connectivity. This deprives students of rich multimedia content that can simplify concepts and help in easy cognition. It would simplify concepts like, for example, planetary motions, mathematical curricula, molecular atomic structure. From my personal experience, seeing these concepts on a video is far more easier than reading it in a textbook and visualizing it. Universities, in this, students' learning gets restricted to only those areas where internet connection is available. So it's a kind of situation where a learner has to choose between facility available in some other parts of the campus and e-learning they would want to do. Virtual and distance universities. Here the users are completely dependent on internet to access their course content. So if internet access is not there, their learning would get impeded. Certain other situations like employees working at remote offshore location, construction sites, mines, high sea, for them, they cannot access content and compromise on their learning. Executives in large organizations who are on continual travel, they cannot access their organization's learning assets on move. And again, as we have seen, there is abundance of rich multimedia content, but that would require high bandwidth speed for learners to access. As a result, students and learners are not being able to take advantage of that. So here what we have done is to list some of the situations where there is impact. But if you give it a more thought, you'll realize there are multiple such situations where students and learners are dependent on internet and that is impacting their learning. So how do we resolve this challenge? Solution would be to improve internet bandwidth across the world, but as we can see, it would be difficult. Some regions, as we have discussed, already have internet access, but they also are facing challenges with intermittent internet availability, dropouts, and remaining regions, their internet is already a challenge which will take time for them to develop such an infrastructure. So more practical solution could be to make content available on learner's device for a specific period of time so that learner can access it even without connectivity. But that is not all. So if we are providing the content, we'll have to also take into account many other factors like monitoring learner's progress, content security, and several other aspects. So we'll look into this solution concept in more detail as we go along. But before that, we'll look at some key considerations that we should keep in mind while designing such a solution. So here I'm showing you some of the important considerations that we should take into account. The first one, this solution should follow applicable industry standard for e-learning like SCORM, AICC. The learner should have ability to download the content on different devices. In case of users who do not own a PC, so they can easily download the content on several other media available to them, and they can carry their content on those storage mediums wherever they go. Once the content is downloaded, there would be need to keep the content updated on the user's device, as well as all the progress information that is generated, that should also be synced back. So this feature should be there that all the latest updates could be synced between the user's device and the learning management system. Now, once you have provided the data on a user's device, it would be out of your control. So appropriate security and encryption mechanism should be opted so that the data that is provided is safe and secure. In today's time, a user has multiple choices for devices, operating systems, and platforms. So this solution should support all such popular operating systems and platforms. For in today's terms, user is using a browser to access LMS, so this solution should possibly be able to utilize browser interface for continuity of user experience. So it should work on all popular browsers like Internet Explorer, Firefox, Google Chrome, and any other popular browser at that time that is there when you are looking at the solution. So once we have thought about the solution, now let's take a look at a solution architecture that is possible to put in place this kind of solution. So based on the what we have discussed, we have provided a technology framework to this much needed solution. For content delivered using a LMS, a UI interface is provided. This component is responsible for presenting course material to learner as per content meta file and tracking and saving user progress based on users' action through content navigation. And in order to make this workflow available for offline access, below is a high-level architectural diagram. So in this, there are three different components. The first is data store and server component, where it would provide ability to store all the data. User interface component is to provide interactivity as well as some control to users. And this third and the central component is offline player service, which would actually enable a user to be able to download course content on their device to have offline access. Now let's take a look at all these components in a little more detail as to what it should be doing. So data store and server communication components should be able to hold the course content downloaded from LMS in encrypted format. It should also secure local database so that all the user progress information that is generated is encrypted. It should provide communication protocols which will enable exchange of information between LMS and offline player using XML-based request-response message. Under the user interface component, it should provide display of downloaded course content for the user who logs in and other information like course catalog, progress tracking. It should also provide ability to launch and course completion status and information like expiration date, course title, and others. On the administration side, it should provide ability for bulk upload of information, user information. Now, coming to the centerpiece offline player service, it will act as a middleware between these two components and work with elements to provide ability to the user to be able to download the course from learning management system onto user's device. It should also provide ability to download the course information onto user's device. So, having seen this, I would want to walk you through Harbinger Offline Player, which is a solution we have developed based on this implementation architecture. Harbinger Offline Player is easy to use, secure, standards-based player for allowing access to rich multimedia content when offline. It was to provide you a brief context regarding Harbinger Offline Player. It was developed way back in 2003 when we worked with AICC committee for developing specs for disconnected learning. We utilized those specifications to create our offering, Harbinger Offline Player. Now, it is being used by several large to small organizations. Our offline player is a standard compliant. It works well with any LMS which complies to SCORM 1.2, 2004 AICC Level 1. It supports multiple operating systems like Windows, XP, 7, 8, Mac, Linux, as well as on mobile platforms it supports iOS and Android. On the browser side, it supports all popular browsers like Firefox, Chrome, Safari, Internet Explorer. It supports data transfer over secure domain and supports HTTPS, SSL, and the data that is transferred on a user's device is in encrypted mode, so that the entire security of this data is taken care of so that it cannot be misused. It additionally provides ability to download this content on various devices, storage devices like flash memories, CDs, USB, as well as it could be downloaded on mobile devices, etc. On synchronization, it updates course and user information on the user's device and back to LMS. So that's to keep all the course content updated. The most important here is that it is a customizable product offering. So apart from its standard feature and functionality set, any custom requirement that is there that could be developed and provided as a feature for Harbinger Offline Player. Now, let's take a more detailed look as to how this works. So here I'm showing you how the system would work for a desktop version. Now, here I'm showing that usual scenario where the first one, a user would be able to log in and be able to access course catalog and work using online player. When offline capability has to be added, what we'll do is to add offline player installer with LMS and add download and sync APIs for information exchange. There would be an option provided in course catalog screen for a user to be able to download and install offline player, as well as option to be able to download the course content. So once a user would want to download, all they would need to do is to click on this option and course content would get downloaded. And it would download along with user information, progress information, so that a user has all the information in offline mode, whatever they need to work on, so that they do not require internet connection. So this dotted line shows the offline mode, where once the content is there, a user would be able to launch it using the content player, excuse me, and all the progress data that would be generated would be locally stored. Once internet connection is available, that would sync back to LMS to update the LMS file. So from here, now let me take you to an actual demo where I'm going to show you using our instance of LMS as to how this would work. So here I have logged into our LMS, which is customized Moodle instance. I've logged in as a user, OLP user 25, and here I can see the course. And here we have been provided some of the options. So I'll provide some time here so that the screen gets refreshed at your end. So I believe you would be able to see this screen now, and where my mouse cursor is, we have added some options from offline player. Option to download the course content, to sync, and other options. And here on the right side is the option for a user to install offline player. So when a new user comes to this LMS interface, they would click on this to download offline player so that it is there, and then they can begin with downloading the course content. Since it's already on my system, so I'll move to the next step. What I'll do is first to open this course content just to see what it is. It is an old maritime navigation course which has been created using our tool itself, which is GraphQL Elsevier. So now I'm going to move back to the main page, and from here I'm going to click on the download options. We have already downloaded this course to save on time. So from here what I'm going to do is to switch to offline player. So let me open that. Just give me a moment to change my screen. So here now you can see offline player. Excuse me. What we have done is to keep this screen clean, as you would not be able to see more graphics here. This is customizable, so so that it could replicate your branding, your requirement for user interface. So I'm going to log in, and before it takes me to the course, it's going to sync the progress information. The ideal way for me to show this would have been to disconnect internet and show this to you. But given that is not possible, what I'm going to do is to log out from the LMS and show you that offline player working in it is not dependent any longer with my connection with LMS. So here in this screen, we can see the course name, the expiry date, option to launch, and the progress details. As well, it shows the user's completion status of the course, whether it's complete, incomplete, and we can as well see whether it's getting synchronized with the LMS, that is the user's progress information from the device, if it's synced with the LMS. So now I'm going to launch this course and work on a couple of screens. I believe you can see my screen now, where I'm showing you a course index. So the first screen that you will see would be course index, which is going to show topics that are there in this course. So I'm going to start with one of the topics, and as you can see, once I move further, it's going to show me that I'm progressing and I've completed viewing the information for that particular topic. So for saving our time, what I'm going to do is to restrict looking at these few topics, and now I'm going to close this course. I've clicked on finish, and I'm going to exit this screen, and I'm going to again log in to within the LMS. So please give me some time to change my screen and log in again. So I'm back in LMS, and by now you would be familiar with this screen. Before I go, I have this manual sync options which I'm going to use to sync the information, progress information of user from his device onto LMS. And now what you will be seeing that all the progress data, that is the screens that we worked on, that information is here, all the tick marks against the topics. So this is how it is going to work and facilitate a user to be able to work on e-learning courses without depending on internet connectivity. So from here, I'm going to move back again to our presentation. And now I'm going to show you the solution overview for mobile version. Broadly it is similar, but there are some changes in workflow when it comes to downloading offline player. So in this case, what a user would do will access App Store or Google Play Store from where they would download mobile offline player, where it would be already submitted for their organizations. Once they have downloaded offline player on their device, they will be able to enter the app and get a login screen where they will type in their details, credentials to get it authenticated from their LMS. Once it is validated, they would get the course catalog screen. From that screen, whatever course they want to download on their device, they would be able to click and download it on their device. It would get downloaded along with user information. So from there on, they would not require to have internet connection to again get validated. Once they have completed their course, the progress information that is locally stored would get synced back to LMS on internet availability. So from here, let me quickly again take you to a video recording which is going to show you how mobile offline player works. So here I have a video recording for that. I believe you would be able to see my screen now. Excuse me. So that greenish icon was mobile offline player app on a user's device. In this case, iPad. And once they click, they would get this interface to type in their credentials. And this is, once this is validated, a course list would be displayed. Here you can see the same course. To this user, only one single course has been assigned. And a user can click on this course to download this particular course on his device. As you can see, course download is progressing. Once it's downloaded, a user will get the option to launch the course. So here we are working, course is being worked on, and once it is done, a user would be able to see the completion status. And as you can see, depending if the course is compliant to mobile devices, any media assets could be utilized. Offline player is content format platform agnostic. So now, once the course has been completed, the time spent, course status, expiry date, and synchronized status with LMS would be displayed. And when internet access is available, all this information would be, along with the course status, progress information will sync back to LMS. From here, we'll move back again to our presentation. Now, in this slide, I'm showing you industries and verticals where offline player is being used. So these are some of the verticals I'm showing. There are many more. So let me start with LMS ISVs, where some of the large LMS ISVs are using offline player to extend offline capability of their LMS so that users at their client end can use it. On government defense, a large defense organization is using offline player, where we have provided them 2 stages of offline player. Their troops are located at multiple places. So at the unit level, troop unit level, we have provided offline functionality that this unit level LMS could download content from central server and make it accessible for their learners. And soldiers, the learners, would be able to download content on their device from this unit level LMS, work on it, and once their progress data is synced back to the unit level LMS, this data from users' devices would get wiped out. On internet availability, this unit level LMS would update all the progress information and data to the central LMS. On digital publishing side, a large organization is using offline player to package course content in CD and to provide it to their learners, who can easily then use the CD to work on any workstation, and the progress information is locally stored, which is then, once internet access is available, they can sync it back to the organization's LMS. And there are many other verticals and industries: airlines, petrochemicals, pharma, universities, even NGOs who are working in countries in Africa region where internet is a challenge. So they are using offline player to provide content on user's device. So we'll briefly touch upon 2 of the success stories out of many that we have. This one, which I'm showing you, is of a banking organization who has offices spread across the globe, over 100 companies, and their staff is continually traveling. So the requirement was to have a seamless training requirement so that a learner would be able to have the e-learning content seamlessly. The challenge here was the direct communication between Harbinger offline player and LMS was not feasible due to network policies. Hence, there was a requirement for alternate communication mechanism as well as quality assurance strategy was needed. So in this case, what we did was to build, we provided them a customized offline layer. We built a mediator-based communication for progress tracking. And we developed a data converter to prepare sync data as per customized specification supported by LMS site mediator components. Thereby communication with LMS via mediator components instead of a direct communication. So offline player progress tracking in this case was as per SCORM 1.2. Additionally, we provided customization to incorporate bank's branding guidelines so that a user has experience of working in similar interface. Option for manual syncing was provided so that whenever internet access is available, they can push the progress information from their device to the LMS. The bank has, this organization has multiple benefits. It provided flexibility for staff to access training and any other learning program even when they were in offline mode. And it provides increased access. As a result, this existing e-learning content could be further leveraged to increase return on investment for the spending that has already happened for e-learning content developed there. As well, offline player enhanced user experience. So from here we move to another case study that is with LMS vendors. In this LMS, ISP had over 200 plus customers globally, and most of these customers had a large staff who were traveling continuously and required extensive training. The challenge here was to deliver training seamlessly even when there is no internet access or connectivity, as well as take care of complete security and privacy of data that would be downloaded on the user's device. Also, there was requirement that the dependency or conflicts with existing Java runtime environment on user's workstation is not there, as it may conflict and cause difficulty. So again, here we provided customized solution to them with branding requirement of this LMS vendor. We also provided an auto updater feature to upgrade offline player with the latest feature. Now this also became part of our standard offering. To resolve the conflict with JRE, we embedded JRE so that there is no conflicts, and language support was extended to 15 plus languages. And as the benefit that you can see here, it increased acceptability of this solution from this organization, increasing their business, and it provided ability to their client to be able to leverage existing content further, maximizing their return on investment. So in today's session, we had this much to share. So now this is a question and answer section. What we are going to do is to take questions from your side. Please use the question pane to type in all your questions. We'll give a couple of minutes for you to be able to type in your questions, and we'll start taking them. In case we are not being able to take your questions, what we are going to do is to, after this session, we are going to create a document with all question and answer, and that we are going to send it to you. So we have one question here. It asks, what all changes are required for integrating OLP with LMS? So, there are two major points. We need to create APIs for handshaking between offline player and the LMS. And we need to add option in LMS to download course, install for offline player. All right. So there is another question. Does desktop offline player courses work on mobile offline player? Yes, courses can work on all the variations of offline player provided. So as I had mentioned already that offline player is platform and content format agnostic. So course should be built in rich HTML so that it complies with both the devices. Course should have inbuilt swipe gestures or navigation buttons for transversing between pages, so that as you can understand, the usual functionality that would be there on a desktop course, it would not work in mobile devices. Another question is, how easy is offline player to integrate with LMS? Thank you, Paul, for your question. And right. So integration, as I mentioned to you, offline player works well with any LMS which is standards compliant like SCOM 1.2 2004 AICC. So with regard to offline player, it's pretty easy. All we would need to do is to add download and sync APIs from LMS. So if that is available, APIs are exposed, so integration is not at all difficult. And once integration is done, it will work seamlessly. So I believe there are some more questions, which what we will do is to frame a document, and after the session we'll share it, and so that you can easily go. And what you can do is to, after the session, you can always write back to us if you have any queries. And this is time for us to end this webinar. It is being recorded. It is being recorded, so you will receive an email with a link to view this recording later. And finally, I request you to fill in a short feedback that will pop up on your screen once you exit the webinar. It won't take long, but will surely provide us with important insights on how to improve and what topics to choose. With this, we conclude today's session. Once again, thank you all and have a great day ahead.